In 1996, a team of Russian scientists finally reached something they had been drilling toward for over 20 years, a lake buried under 2.5 miles of Antarctic ice. That lake had been completely sealed off from the rest of the planet for more than 15 million years. No sunlight, no contact with our atmosphere. Nothing going in, nothing coming out. And when scientists finally got a sample from the water, what they found inside shouldn't have been possible. But Lake Vostok was just the beginning. Since then, radar scans of Antarctica have uncovered an entire hidden world underneath the ice. A mountain range the size of the Alps that nobody knew existed. A canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon. Rivers that run blood red. And something underneath the ice sheet that could speed up sea level rise faster than anyone predicted. Let's start with the lake that changed everything. Antarctica isn't just one solid block of ice. Underneath it, scientists have now mapped more than 400 lakes, kept liquid by pressure and geothermal heat, even though the surface temperature outside can drop below -80 degrees Fahrenheit. Lake Vostok is the biggest of them. It's roughly the size of Lake Ontario, and it had been cut off from the outside world since before humans existed as a species. So when Russian researchers finally broke through in 2012, the assumption was simple. Nothing could survive down there. No light for photosynthesis, crushing pressure, near freezing temperatures. But the water samples came back with signs of life. Bacteria unlike anything catalogued in existing databases at the time. Some researchers even flagged sequences that didn't cleanly match any known kingdom of life on Earth. That claim is still debated, and later analysis suggested contamination may have affected some of the results. Still, follow-up studies from other subglacial lakes have confirmed that microbial ecosystems really do exist down there, thriving in total darkness. Which raises an obvious question. If life can survive sealed under Antarctic ice for millions of years, where else in our solar system could it be hiding? NASA has actually said, Antarctica's subglacial lakes are one of the closest things we have on Earth to the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, which is part of why space agencies keep funding this research. But the lakes weren't the strangest thing hiding under the ice. In the McMurdo dry valleys, there's a glacier that bleeds, literally. A 5-story waterfall of deep red liquid pours out of the ice, and for over a century, nobody could explain why. When it was first spotted in 1911, geologists assumed it was red algae. They were wrong. It took more than 100 years and actual sampling of the water to figure out what was really going on. The water comes from a lake trapped underneath the glacier, sealed off from oxygen for an estimated 5 million years. It's extremely salty, 3 times saltier than seawater, and packed with iron. When that water finally hits the surface and meets oxygen for the first time, the iron rusts almost instantly. That's the red color. But here's the part that actually shocked researchers. Inside that trapped lake, scientists found an entire ecosystem of microbes that have been surviving without sunlight, without oxygen, for millions of years. They're not dormant, they're not frozen, they're alive, breathing sulfate instead of oxygen, and cycling iron to survive. It's one of the only known ecosystems on Earth that has functioned completely independent of the sun. And if that sounds isolated, wait until you hear what's sitting directly underneath the ice sheet itself. Buried under more than 2 miles of ice in East Antarctica is a mountain range roughly the size of the European Alps. It's called the Gamburtsev Mountain Range, and almost nobody has heard of it, because nobody has ever actually seen it. It was first detected by a Soviet expedition using seismic equipment in the late 1950s, but for decades scientists genuinely couldn't explain why it was there. Mountain ranges like this usually form at the edges of tectonic plates, from collision and pressure. The Gamburtsevs sit in the dead center of a continent, far from any plate boundary. Then in 2008, a team of international researchers flew radar-equipped aircraft directly over the range for months, and what they found only deepened the mystery. The mountains appear to have formed over 1 billion years ago, then were buried, eroded, and somehow preserved almost perfectly under the ice for millions of years, protected from the erosion that flattens every other mountain range on the planet. Researchers now believe an ancient rift, similar to what's currently splitting East Africa, may have caused the crust to thicken and push the mountains upward before the ice ever formed. But there's still no full agreement on exactly how it happened. What we do know is this. There's an entire alpine mountain range on Earth that virtually no human being has ever seen with their own eyes. And it's not even the most extreme geography they found under the ice. In 2020, researchers mapping the bedrock underneath Denman Glacier confirmed something remarkable. Beneath the ice sits the deepest land canyon on Earth. It plunges more than 3.5 kilometers below sea level, deeper than the Grand Canyon, and deeper than almost anywhere else on the planet's land surface. The canyon itself isn't the alarming part. What's alarming is what's sitting inside it. Denman Glacier holds enough ice to raise global sea levels by roughly 1.5 meters if it fully melted. And because the canyon shape slopes downward inland, warm ocean water can creep further and further underneath the glacier the more it retreats. Therefore, once melting starts in a canyon shaped like this, it doesn't slow down. It accelerates. Satellite data has already shown the glacier retreated nearly 5 kilometers between 1996 and 2018, faster than almost any other glacier researchers are tracking in East Antarctica. But erosion and rising oceans aren't the only threat hiding beneath the ice sheet. There's something with a lot more heat involved. In 2017, researchers from Edinburgh University identified 91 previously unknown volcanoes buried beneath West Antarctica's ice sheet, adding to dozens already known. That brought the total in the region to nearly 140, making it one of the largest volcanic regions on the planet, and almost none of it is visible from the surface. Most of them are dormant, but some are showing signs of activity, including one buried under Pine Island Glacier, where researchers detected volcanic ash layers in the ice and evidence of geothermal heat rising from below. Here's why that matters. Ice melts from the top because of a warming atmosphere, but it can also melt from the bottom, from heat rising out of the Earth itself. If volcanic activity underneath West Antarctica increases, even slightly, it could destabilize glaciers from beneath, in places satellites can't easily monitor from above. Scientists aren't predicting an eruption anytime soon, but the discovery reframed how researchers think about ice sheet stability. It's not just a question of air temperature anymore. There's an entire volcanic landscape underneath, and we're still mapping how much heat it's putting out. So underneath one of the most lifeless-looking places on Earth, there's a hidden mountain range nobody has seen, a canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon, a waterfall that bleeds from an ecosystem 5 million years old, lakes holding life that may resemble what's hiding on other moons in our solar system, and an entire volcanic field quietly heating the ice from below. And here's the part that puts all of this in perspective. Researchers estimate we've only properly mapped a fraction of what's actually underneath the Antarctic ice sheet. Every new radar survey keeps finding something nobody expected, which means the most surprising discovery about Antarctica probably hasn't happened yet.